Mr. Chairman, I'm sure nobody on this panel thinks that Puerto Rico is a property, or the people are. That's a little outrageous. It is a territory. The Article 4 said or properties, so we need to distinguish between that. But let's get right down to this thing. I would like to see that island prosper and do well. I had a chance to visit, and that doesn't make me an expert by any means, but there's a lot of great potential down there and for the fine people of that island. So what do you need to be successful to invest there, to thrive? Low-cost electricity would be a big cornerstone of doing that. And so what I saw in my visit was a bunch of shut down 60-year-old generators that are using diesel or fossil, bunker fuel or something like that, that are not efficient. The Army Corps had in place some temporary generators that were using, if I remember correctly, about 1/3 or maybe 1/4 the amount of fuel to generate the amount of electricity that was being used out of those 60-year-old machines. So an improvement right there with a temporary machine. But what if we thought ahead of this a little farther? We have abundant natural gas that we export, and we're seeking to export more of to across the Atlantic and other areas to share with Europe and others. The island is much closer than those areas. If it's economical for Europe to import, why would it not be economical for Puerto Rico to do so? Build the type of plants we need on opposite ends of the island where strategically it makes sense. Large plants. I wonder, Senator or Mr. Walker, how many acres do they have available to cover the island with subsidized solar panels that need to be replaced every 15, 20 years, and who knows how they hold up when a hurricane gets underneath them? How many acres do we have to come up with that? When I was on tour there, I saw a lot of area that was either floodplain or environmental set-asides or with what agriculture they have there. How many acres do you want to cover up on an island with that? Or cover with windmills that are low yield per windmill, very expensive per windmill. I don't see the yield for a power grid that wouldn't be subject to storms, cloudy days, and damage from hurricanes that would be, those alternatives just seem like terrible to me compared to large-scale plants that could be online all times with a fuel source that is reliable and you can turn on it at a switch, and much more cost-effective per unit. So would you two please touch on that for me?
Yeah, let me make 2 points. One is, if we had enough solar panels on 50% of our homes, that would be enough. That would be enough energy generated with 50% of our households having just panels on the rooftops. Of course, we have a lot more land that can be used, and we have solar farms. So the acreage is not a problem. And in terms of the Constitution, I just wanted to clarify, because you made a point, that it says respecting the territory or other, and I underscore the word other property. So again, I just bring it up to the fact that this was a language from the 18th century, and we're using
the word or.
No, it says or other.
Or.
No, the Constitution says or other, and that means if you're or other, you're also property. It says territories or other property of the United States. And what I'm suggesting, sir, is, with all due respect, is that we should not see, it's shameful, and I am a U.S. citizen, it is shameful to actually treat Puerto Rico as property of anyone. And I think citizens of Puerto Rico, we should legislate for Puerto Rico outside that whole concept of having the territorial clause. I know it may be the subject of a different hearing, but I think we owe respect to our fellow citizens down in Puerto Rico, and we're not giving them that respect, given the nature of the fiscal board and everything else.
You come in here arguing that is really not helping your case. I have a great respect for the people of Puerto Rico, and I want to see them prosper.
Sir,
making that argument does not help other Americans.
I would just finish by saying, if you had an oversight board, when you do the budget of the United States, if you had an oversight board coming from Russia or somewhere else or whatever it is, giving you and telling you what your budget should be, even though you approved one budget for the people of the United States, like I did 3 weeks ago, and having an oversight board basically saying, annulating that and saying, that budget will not go through, we will tell you what your budget is. I think that's shameful for the United States. What happened to government of the people and by the people? What happened to democratic values? And that's why I think this whole
you.
territorial issue should be addressed
you,
at some
Senator.
point. Thank you.
Look, I'm from Utah. I understand what it's like for the federal government to control other property.